Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we're talking about comedian and Canadian Samantha Bee, who's not only of course a stark leftist loser elitist who thinks she knows better than everyone, she's also a foreign invader posing as an American who claims to understand our country, but she really just doesn't at all. Bee is a pretty basic, common, typical Canadian in that way, if you think about it. She's a hardcore liberal, anti-Trump, and she's pro-social justice. And of course, like all the best Canadians do eventually, Samantha Bee has moved to America and started to try and turn our nation into a socialist, communist, left-wing nightmare, like our poor northern neighbors. And well, Samantha Bee is pretty much the worst of the worst right now, especially since she's gotten herself wrapped up in this new controversy. Quite a lot has happened with Samantha Bee over the weekend. Following Roseanne's firing and cancellation for making an off-color joke on Twitter about a week ago, Samantha Bee thought after that it would be a good time to insult the president's daughter and senior advisor, Ivanka Trump, by calling her the most sexist term ever for almost no reason. This has led to a huge discussion online as to whether or not Samantha Bee should be fired like how Roseanne was, which is a pretty reasonable assumption since Bee's comments were far worse, unwarranted, and she had the gall to write them down, record them on video, and broadcast them to the 27 people who watch her show on TBS. Just kidding. There's probably dozens of people who watch her show out there. I'm sure they're out there though, I just never heard of them. Regardless, people are certainly pissed off at Bee, even going so far as to not only call for her to be fired, but there's also been a slew of protests of her sponsors. There's campaigns going on, going after the companies who advertise on Bee's show, which we'll get to in a bit. But for now, let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. Let's turn back to the beginning of the story. As I went over before, the Roseanne story really prefaces this one, and I know I went over that in a couple other videos, but let me just reiterate real quick to be clear. Immediately prior to the Samantha Bee story, Roseanne was fired for an edgy joke on Twitter. She said one of Obama's former aides, Valerie Jarrett, looked like a cross between the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes. Liberals immediately took out their pitchforks because the comment dared to mention apes, and come to find out, Valerie Jarrett is supposedly black, a fact which most people, including Roseanne, did not know. I didn't know, but now that we do, apparently any comments related to apes are completely off limits, even though you could say Valerie Jarrett is about as black looking as Sean King or Rachel Dolezal. But of course, something people keep forgetting was Roseanne wasn't even comparing her to an actual ape. The comment was about a character on the Planet of the Apes, a movie series that features evolved, more human looking apes, of which Jarrett is a dead ringer for. She looks exactly like this character, but that's besides the point. Something else no one seems to want to mention is the fact that Valerie Jarrett is an evil, leftist loser who, first of all, no one even knew who she was before this story, and secondly, if you did know more about Jarrett, you would know she's a corrupt Obama crony who deserves to be ridiculed. But regardless of all that detail and nuance, half the country has slammed Roseanne as a racist, and they have continually called her this since this happened. Many are even reveling in her firing and her social demise, all over an indirect reference to apes, which was poking fun at a fake black person. Now, I'm not going to pretend I don't understand the historical context here either. Don't get me wrong. I get the fact that blacks have been compared to apes in the past, and that is highly racist and offensive. I just don't think it's that bad anymore. This isn't going on in current day, in current year. I'm sorry, but I know all the liberals and leftists assume this apes reference is still taboo and terrible, but I just don't see it anymore. And I see it as them being overly sensitive. And they're using this opportunity to take down someone they don't like, a conservative supporter and a Trump supporter like Roseanne. So make no mistake, this is a left-wing attack on our side by proxy, all based on this assumption that ape is the worst and most racist term in the world, when I think it's really not. But this isn't the first time leftists have made big, over-the-top assumptions, and it won't be the last either. Now back to the Samantha Bee side of the story. Let's go for her actual comments that got her into hot water from her show last Wednesday.
Ivanka Trump, who works at the White House, chose to post the second most oblivious tweet we've seen this week. You know, Ivanka, that's a beautiful photo of you and your child, but let me just say, one mother to another, do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless cunt. He listens to you.
That's right, Samantha Bee is calling Ivanka a feckless cunt on her TV show, on the air, in front of Bee's 17 fans. But really, I thought the C word was supposed to be the worst thing anyone could ever call a woman. This seems far worse than the ape reference to me, and this would be considered highly sexist if someone called, say, Obama's daughters that word. I don't think any talk show host would ever get away with that. Now, to be fair, Ivanka is an adult who also works in her father's administration, which makes her fair game, but still, there's a huge, gaping, glaring double standard here which can't be ignored. left-wing talk shows have complete free reign to call women the C-word and to compare President Trump to an ape or orangutan. Liberals are allowed to do this on their shows, on the air, and they're commended for it. But if a conservative supporter like Roseanne says one wrong thing on Twitter in the middle of the night, then boom, she's fired the next day. No question. The hypocrisy here is very strong, too strong, and people are really starting to wake up and notice it. And I didn't even mention the original tweet Sam B attacked Ivanka for. It was a simple and innocent picture she posted saying how she loves her kid. Doesn't really get much more wholesome and politically correct than this. But for some reason, family, children, and motherhood must really trigger Samantha B. She even calls this Ivanka tweet the second most oblivious tweet ever. Then Sam goes on to ask Ivanka to help change Trump's immigration policy. I guess that part makes sense since Samantha B is a dirty no-good immigrant from Canada, and she's a leftist who advocates for uncontrolled, unlimited immigration into the United States. That way the Democrats can bribe the illegals with handouts, thus securing their votes and their positions of power for decades. This is the real issue here. This is really what the Democrats are going for, and Samantha B is supporting them. Sam B is an immigrant advocating for more mass immigration, and she doesn't care that our country can't support more people. She's not from here. Why would she give a shit? B doesn't care that mass immigration is ruining our country because she doesn't even give a shit about this country. She's here to ruin it. That's her goal. All Sam really cares about is signaling up to higher level Democrats that she's cool and she's down with the cause. She wants to be one of them so she can make money. That's how she's getting rich and making all this fat cash on her show, by being a puppet for the left. In short, this picture Ivanka tweeted was not oblivious or insensitive at all. It's just another case of liberals assigning secret meanings to things in order to bash people for them. It's the same thing they did with Roseanne's Planet of the Apes comment. Rose referenced a movie and then the left flipped the script and brought up the secret meaning behind apes related to black people. And they also revealed the secret that the woman we were talking about was black, Valerie Jarrett. Secrets on secrets. And now Samantha B is taking a totally innocent tweet from Ivanka and saying there's some secret insensitive meaning behind it. I guess because she wants more immigration. I don't know. I don't see the connection. I don't see the correlation myself, but I do see that Sam B is trying to ruin our country. And I say, if she wants more immigrants, why don't you go back to Canada and bring more immigrants there?
Put on something tight and low cut and tell your father to fucking stop it. Tell him it was an Obama thing and see how it goes, okay?
Next, B even goes so far as to make a creepy incest joke about Donald Trump being attracted to his daughter Ivanka. Just low, cheap, played out, and of course, very degenerate humor. I'm sure the Trumps and no other conservatives have ever thought of these gross, creepy things, but leave it to the liberals to bring up sexual deviancy. They are the masters of it at this point, right? Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, anyone? Any takers out there? The list goes on, but also, to me, this is the leftists and progressives' way of projecting their insecurities and their flaws onto us. They're the ones who are thinking of creepy things like having sex with their kids. And that's why they project that awful idea onto Trump and his daughter. And it's actually sort of the same kind of projecting they did with Roseanne in her Planet of the Apes comment. Rose referenced a movie, a Planet of the Apes character, and then the liberals immediately started comparing black people to apes. Sounds to me like leftists are the ones who are insecure about things here. They're the ones comparing blacks to apes, not us. In the next part of the story comes the outrage against Samantha B. This time it's rightfully turned upon her, which she deserves, and that's kind of nice. In normal circumstances, I would never call for someone to be fired for saying a joke or even an insult, but considering the left just hung Roseanne out to dry for doing far less on Twitter, it does make sense for Samantha B to meet similar or maybe even worse consequences, since she did far worse live on television. You could say that sounds a little petty and tit for tat, sure, but sometimes that's the only way to get through to people like this, especially when you're dealing with underachieving, low IQ leftists like these social justice warriors and progressives who are trying to take over our country and everything. They're the ones who drove the outrage train into Roseanne and took her down, and we're gonna have to be the ones who turn that train around and hit Samantha B with it. If not, the Dems will just get away with their bullshit once again, and this will only embolden them and make them act worse and worse, more entitled than they already are, getting more and more of our people humiliated and fired. And it looks like Samantha B has begun to feel the pressure too. Sure, she still tried acting innocent and smug, but eventually even her own people turned against her. And I hate to say it, but it looks like CNN even did something sane and rational with this story. Their host Brooke B made a great point about the huge double standards going on with Samantha B.
A couple of things. One, imagine for a second how liberals would have reacted if Roseanne or a conservative TV star had used that language describing Valerie Jarrett. Whether you agree with the president's policies or not, calling a senior advisor inside the United States government or anyone for that matter, the C word is, like I said at the top, it's outrageous, It is unacceptable and should be called out.
Damn right she should be called out, Brooke. And nice name, by the way. Looks like we may have found the only sane and rational person left at CNN. And it's no surprise she's one of the only ones that are pretty and attractive. You know, like most conservative women are. And you also know for sure that none of the bulldykes at CNN would ever sympathize with our side. Just saying. Anyway, Brooke here brings up another good point too. Ivanka isn't just the president's daughter, she's on his staff and a trusted senior advisor, who B just called a feckless C-word. And she basically told Ivanka to dress up slutty and flirt with her dad to fix immigration. This is totally disgusting, not to mention sexist and offensive to women everywhere.
And now, like most entertainers who go political and get into hot water, she'll say, whoa, 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 I'm just a comedian. But the problem is it doesn't work here. She's Samantha Bee. She's in this position of leadership, not to mention a role model to millions of young girls and to women, and to use that word from a woman to another woman. Offensive is offensive, wrong is wrong, whether you are on the left or the right.
Wow, I really think I'm in love with this Brooke girl now. Her and Ivanka today are killing it. This story is filled with hotties on our side, now that I think about it. And all the uglies are on the wrong side, on the left, as per usual. Just like that dirty, no-good Canadian Samantha Bee. And despite Brooke's dashing and distracting looks, I also hear what she's saying too. Samantha Bee has been set up as this role model figure for women and girls out there in the public. I don't think she is, nor do I want her to be, but that's certainly what you hear some people going for. Bee has been paraded around as this first female joke news anchor for years. Even though her show is failing and mediocre at best, Bee sure tries to act like she's for social justice, like she's saving the world or some shit. She wants to be a role model, but then goes off on a vicious and offensive tirade towards Ivanka Trump for no fucking reason. Like I said before, that tweet of Ivanka's that sparked this was completely harmless. It was a wholesome family picture literally no one would get offended by, no sane person. But Samantha Bee can't stand happy mothers who love their children, I guess. Bee doesn't like families and white people and us reproducing. That's offensive to Samantha, so she's been lashing out pretty hard. And although she has her own made up excuses for coming after Ivanka, we all know it's just because she has hatred for her father, Donald Trump. In the end, this all comes down to Samantha Bee and her Trump derangement syndrome getting her in trouble here. Her hatred for the God Emperor has truly blinded her and made her make this big fuck up. Next comes the eventual apology from Sam. After loads of people started turning against her, including many on her own side like we saw at CNN, Samantha Bee finally started to backpedal, beginning with an apology on Twitter which read, "I would like to sincerely apologize to Ivanka Trump and to my viewers for using an expletive on my show to describe her last night. It was inappropriate and inexcusable. I crossed a line and I deeply regret it." That's right. You can swing and try and insult the beautiful, perfect Ivanka if you want, Sam, but you're gonna have to apologize for it and bend the knee later. We all know Sam is just jealous because she's not smart and attractive like Ivanka, nor is she likable, successful, or well-spoken. Bee is an ugly hack fraud loser who's attacking the Trumps out of pure jealousy. Regardless of that though, I still accept her apology, and I don't think really much more is to be said here. We kind of won this battle, but Bee does still have her show, and many out there are not happy with that. In fact, it's gotten so bad that 2 major sponsors have pulled their ads from Samantha Bee. Last week, both State Farm and Auto Trader pulled their ads from Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, following this Ivanka Trump slur situation and the public outcry from it. And I really see this as just desserts at this point. The liberals and the left are getting what they deserve. Samantha Bee and others are the ones who started this outrageous joke police state we're living in now. So I'm not going to shed a tear when Bee's show is just one sponsor away from going under. Not my problem at all. While I still stand by the idea that no jokes go too far and no one should be fired for saying something edgy, while I still believe in that, I will happily hold my own double standard for Samantha Bee. If she's going to go down for this, then I say so be it. I'm fine with having my own subtle double standard here, especially considering that double standards are what liberals use and abuse constantly. That's how they get the upper hand all the time. So I'm sure not going to act above it and be all principled now, when we finally have a chance to retaliate and take down one of their dumb shows too. Hell, I say we don't stop there. Jimmy Kimmel should get the outrage treatment too. I want to see his shitty show canceled as well. I mean, the guy did fucking videos in blackface. It really doesn't get more racist and offensive than that. And blackface is overtly offensive too. Not this kind of sort of maybe racist thing they're accusing Roseanne of. And by the way, Kimmel is on the same network as Roseanne used to be, ABC. ABC canceled Roseanne's highly successful show over just a tweet that referenced the Planet of the Apes movie. Yet at the same time, we got Kimmel doing blackface, mocking black people straight up, and he gets away with it. Granted, Granted, Kimmel's jokes were a long time ago on another channel, but I think you get my point. We can no longer stand idly by while leftist comedians get away with the same stuff that they fire our conservative sympathizers for. Both sides need to be held to the same standards, or we got no standards at all. If Roseanne can't accurately mention how a woman looks like a Planet of the Apes character, then Bill Maher can't specifically compare Trump to an orangutan or Bush to a chimp. Hell, Bill Maher said the N-word live on TV last summer, yet nothing happened to him except some faux outrage and a slap on the wrist. Maher is still lying and bullshitting on HBO every Friday. In the end, Samantha Bee and the left made this PC, overly sensitive bed, and now it's time they lie in it too. Or they could lay off the pitchforks and quit going after people's jobs and livelihoods themselves. That would really help make sure the same thing doesn't happen to them too. What do you guys think? Should Samantha Bee be fired? Was Roseanne's cancellation justified in the first place? And how long do you think until Bee loses another sponsor and TBS cancels her already failing show? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. See y'all next time.